Hello everyone, once again it's the Professor. What is this? 2 videos in 2 days. You should be blessed, although both of them are going to be rants and neither one of them commentaries, so you can piss on my grave for that one later if you wish. I was doing something today that I normally do here on YouTube, as I peruse a couple of different game reviewers on occasion out of sheer boredom while at work or something of that sort. I almost said shit. That wouldn't have made any sense whatsoever. But I was watching Ben Yahtzee Crenshaw, Zero Punctuation's newest review of Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Blops 2, or whatever you want to call it. And I ran across a comment that I see on a lot of videos criticizing first-person shooters. And this is one of the... I'm just going to read this one particular comment to you because it encapsulates everything I wish to talk about today. And that's, why should it stand on the single player alone? Nobody paid $60 for the single player. They bought it for the online multiplayer. I hate COD as much as the next sane person, but you don't judge Minecraft for its graphics, stealth assassination games by the coherence of their conspiracy theories, sandbox games by their bullshit minigames, unless it's Saints Row or Call of Duty based on a single player campaign. Now, this is what I want to talk about. People defending first-person shooters by saying, oh, the single player is not why people buy a first-person shooter. It's all for the multiplayer. It's all for the multiplayer. Oh my god, that's the important thing of a first-person shooter. That's why people buy the fucking games, man. You need to calm down. Well, see, here's the thing. And I love the comparison you get, the different comparisons he gave, such as Minecraft for its graphics. Well, no, you don't do that on Minecraft for the sole fact that that's part of the game. That's part of the aesthetics of the game itself, are the graphics that they use. Stealth assassination games for the coherence of their conspiracy theories, you do judge it by that. You do judge it by how coherent and how the storyline works. You do judge a stealth game by that point. That's one of the points you look at. Why? Because the story behind a stealth game is very fucking important. Like the Metal Gear Solid series. You don't look at the Metal Gear Solid series without looking at its storyline and critiquing its storyline. You can't do that. And let's see, sandbox games by bullshit minigames? Well, no, mainly because they're not a primary part of the game. They're not a primary part. Minigames are not. They're just there for shits and giggles. And then Call of Duty on a single-player campaign. Okay, listen here. What is the primary part of a game? The story basis. The story part of a game. A console game of this sort, what is the primary part? The storyline. Yes, I know the multiplayer is there, but that's not the primary purpose for a video game, is not the multiplayer. The multiplayer is there to just keep you playing. To keep you playing the game more and more and more and more. That's the only reason it's there. The primary purpose of a video game is the storyline. To get the storyline across. That's the primary purpose behind most video games. Yes, there are those out there that have none, and back in the olden days of the NES and the Genesis, yeah, there really weren't much for storyline-driven games. There really wasn't until things like RPGs started coming out. But here's why I don't like the whole defense of people buy it for the multiplayer. People buy it for the multiplayer. That's why people buy first-person shooters. What you're literally saying with this is you just spent $60 on an expansion pack to the previous game. That's all you just did. Because I will admit, I've played Black Ops 2 to a very small extent, and guess what? They feel extremely similar to me. There's really not any huge changes in the multiplayer. There's really not. The controls are the same. It still feels the same when you play it. You're still using the same guns. They might add 1 or 2 more. They might add a couple of maps, but that's it. The multiplayer isn't completely redone every time. You get the exact same fucking game you got last time with a couple of new weapons and new maps. You just spent $60 on an expansion pack. By saying this, you are proving a certain level of stupidity on your part. You're saying that you're willing to spend $60 for an expansion pack. That's what you're doing when expansion packs normally will run anywhere between $15 to $20. If you go based on some of the Bethesda games and some of those that really released a bunch of expansion packs. That's something I don't understand. If you're only getting into first-person shooters for the multiplayer, why not go buy something or play something that was made focused on that? That was the focus of the game when they made it. Such as Team Fortress 2, that was the focus. Counter-Strike, something of that sort. That was the focus, was the multiplayer. The focus on a Call of Duty game, the focus on a Battlefield game, the focus on Black Ops, they didn't focus on the multiplayer. You can see it when you play it. It's just like the last one with new maps. You can see that's not where they focused their efforts when they created this game. They focused it on the single player, trying to create a storyline that, depending on your viewpoint, did or did not work out, that you did or did not enjoy. The multiplayer is just like the last fucking game. But you are sitting here saying that you will be more than willing to spend $60 on an expansion pack, and that's all it is. Why don't you just keep playing the previous games? Why don't, and here's an idea, and I know this probably won't go anywhere for game developers, here's an idea. If people were so focused and enamored on the multiplayer, then why don't you just release a huge multiplayer first-person shooter based on the Call of Duty franchise? Just call it Call of Duty Multiplayer. That's it. That's all you release. A $60 download. Fantastic. People are already spending $60 on an expansion pack. They're already spending $60 to buy a new multiplayer every fucking time you release one of these games, so you know they'll do it anyway. And then every year, or every half a year, release some updates. Release some new maps. Charge them $40, because obviously they're going to be willing to do it. So why don't game companies just do this? Because obviously when you get comments like this, and I've seen a lot of these on people who criticize first-person shooters, talking about, oh, you shouldn't judge it on the single player. The single player campaign is not the big point of a first-person shooter released for consoles. It's all about the multiplayer. Yeah, I've seen a ton of these comments that are very similar to this, where obviously people are willing and would be very willing to buy a brand new first-person shooter that focuses on nothing but the multiplayer, on the PlayStation 3, on the Xbox 360, that is based on the Call of Duty franchise, and then they'll be more than willing to spend another $30 halfway through that year to get some new maps, and maybe 2 or 3 new guns added to it. I love this, because you have a bunch of gamers out there who complain. Now, I'm going to go back to, say, Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Now, I know these are probably 2 completely different areas of gamers. You got the frag heads, and then you got these other people. I don't even know what you would qualify a fighting game aficionado as. I don't know what your terminology for them would be, but people got pissed off with Capcom on the release of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 because of the charges and because of everything else they were doing, logged features and other stuff you're going to have to pay for and buy. This group of people got pissed because they were going to have to pay extra for additions to a game that didn't actually change the way the game played, didn't actually change the aesthetics of the game, didn't change how you played it, just added a couple of characters, or guns if you will, or new maps if you will, by the new stages you can fight on. But you've got the frag heads that are more than willing to literally spend $60 for nothing more than an expansion to their multiplayer. So you have to ask, where is the intelligence here? Where is the intelligence level in these gamers? It's just something that I saw this comment, and I've seen these comments so many times, people talking about the first-person shooters to this degree. And another item that someone else brought up, I would go through and find the comment, I might, and just post it on the screen anyway, where a guy says, oh, they also buy it for the zombies. Oh, they buy it for the zombies. Okay, here's the thing. If you want to play a zombie game, go play a zombie game. There's Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 5, there's Dead Rising, there's the Left 4 Dead series. There's all these different games that are based on zombie-esque gameplay. Why not just go play one of those that are made focused on the zombies instead of it just being an expansion, a little add-on to your game? I just don't understand this. This is one of the reasons I don't buy first-person shooters. This is one of the reasons I don't play them. One, I don't really enjoy them to that much, and 2, I see them to be very similar to the sport game franchises, such as Madden, NFL, or NCAA video games, that sort of thing. You get the exact same fucking game you bought last time, but with a couple of new players. What the fuck? Why? Why do people stand out in line a night before a release of a new Madden game? They'll stand in line for 3 hours to get the newest Madden game when it's the exact same fucking game you just bought. I don't understand that one. Those are franchises, those are types of games that don't really have innovations within their own series from what I can see. And from my perspective and my viewpoint, there's really no innovations in these franchises between first-person shooters and like sports games, because they all, in my viewpoint and when I've played them, they all feel the same. Now, yes, there might be differences between Halo and Call of Duty and Battlefield and Black Ops. There might be some slight differences between all these, but within their little franchises, Halo 3 felt just like Halo 2 to me for the most part. Halo 2, yeah, it was a little bit better and a little bit more of an improvement over Halo 1, but for the most part, they were extremely similar. Same with the Call of Duties. Same with the Battlefields. Same with the Modern Warfares. There's really not much innovation there. They're all pretty much exactly the same within their own franchise from each game to the next. And you can't say that games like Halo are not being sold on their storyline. If it wasn't for the storyline, do you really believe people would keep buying the new Halo? Well, okay, that's really a stupid question because obviously they would. But I just don't understand how people can say you can't judge a first-person shooter on the single-player elements. You can't do that. You got to look at the multiplayer elements. That's the big part. Yahtzee, just to put it to Yahtzee himself has explained multiple times that he doesn't enjoy multiplayer. So, if he judged your game solely on multiplayer, if he judged the new Black Ops, his review would probably be nothing more than, oh, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. I don't like multiplayer first-person shooters. End of review. This game sucks. That would be his review. And you'd still get pissed off because he doesn't like the multiplayer aspect. So, it just doesn't really make much sense to me. I wanted to get my thoughts out there on this because I am an avid gamer. I'm more into the RPGs, the stealth genres, the adventures, the action-adventure, the platformers, those type of games that actually take a bit of skill in them, if you will. But so, this is the Professor. Just wanted to put that out there. Feel free to disagree with me, because I know this is something people will disagree about when it comes to video games. It's a fun thing to go back and forth and discuss and debate, if you will. But this is just my thoughts on people who make little comments like this. This is one of the weakest possible arguments and defenses you can give for a genre, and one of the weakest defenses you can give for a video game ever, to not judge it on the single-player storyline. That is stupid and ignorant. Because if a game doesn't have a good single player, then it's not a good game. If it doesn't have a good storyline, it's not a good game. Yeah, the action can be great, but if your storyline doesn't keep you involved in this game, you're not going to enjoy the action, because you're not going to just play the game for the action if the storyline is extremely boring and really bad. That's how games work. But I just don't understand how people can say don't judge it on the storyline aspects, the solo campaign. You got to judge it on the multiplayer only. So, this is the Professor, and I bid you all, once again, and as always, a very fine adieu, and I am surprised this rant went on as long as it did, and once again, as you can tell, I'm unscripted, and I can go on forever when I get started talking about something. I could literally go for another 20 minutes. Adieu.